Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Inside Spurs channel. Hope we're all well. Hope we're looking after ourselves in this cold weather. So I've been away for a few days. My voice just completely went again. So there was just no point coming back until the voice was all right. And it does sound pretty good right now. There's a lot that's come out in the last sort of few days with, I would call it a bit of a witch hunt about Conte and him leaving, him staying, the Champions League game being his last potential game, whatever it might be. I want to talk about the situation a little bit. I want to talk about this Spurs agenda that people have with Pochettino, the other candidates that are being touted a little bit, and just sort of my own opinion about the situation. So, guys, here we go. So Conte is back. He's back in England. He's back in training, and obviously got a massive game against AC Milan tomorrow night. Obviously, being 1-0 down from the first leg. Winning this game is everything. This make or breaks a season potentially. We've had a pretty horrific time the last couple of weeks, so we could probably do with getting through in a game like this where we kind of have been faltering a little bit. What's been happening the last sort of couple of days? A lot of sources from The Athletic, the Daily Mail, Football Insider, Football London, all these pages have all been saying, Conte doesn't want to be at Spurs. He doesn't like it at Spurs. The players don't like him. They're not going to do a new contract. The board don't like him, yada, yada, yada. So first and foremost, Fabio Paratici was obsessed with Antonio Conte. He's liked by he's liked by Fabio Paratici, right? So number one, that's that. It came out to say that the players just don't like the training anymore. They think it's too intense. They think it's this, that, or the other. Obviously, you see videos and pictures of training today. They're all smiling, having a great time and actually enjoying it. So, yeah, that's not true either. That's probably what this is. And I'll come back to this in a minute. That is probably from a player that, no offence, isn't relevant. Okay, and I'll explain as to why that's so similar to other situations. He's really loved by Harry Kane. He's really loved by Son. He's really loved by the main players. That is a common theme as well when it comes to other managers. So, yeah, there's rumours that, have come out that, Antonio Conte, if he's not to get through this next round in the Champions League against AC Milan, that he could potentially be finishing up at Spurs before the end of the season. Obviously, his contract in theory ends this summer with the potential for an extra year triggered by Spurs. But they're all, these sources are sort of saying that Spurs are not going to force him to stay if he doesn't want to. And all of these things. Now, just a bit of knowledge for people that maybe don't know. Antonio Conte obviously is living in a hotel. His family is still living in Italy. People keep saying, well, why doesn't he move his family over? Why are they not here? The reason is his daughter's at university, and obviously education is absolutely vital, especially when you're at those sort of levels. So that's why, simple as that. That's why he goes back to see them quite often. That's why he makes an effort. Okay, so if he gets a day off, then obviously he gets back there to see them, right? Why I think this is a bit of a witch hunt, though, this for me is interesting, because I think a lot of the fans have gone, Conte out, Stellini needs to go. But bear in mind, only about 2 weeks ago, Stellini was the GOAT. He was the best thing we've ever had, and Conte was still an absolute legend. Funny how that works. I think a lot of this reminds me of Manchester United. Their situation they've had under, previous managers like Ralph Rangnick. It was undermining the manager every single opportunity they could, every single day. Someone is trying to undermine the manager, be it someone above the manager, be it someone closer to the manager, be it the players, okay? So it reminds me of that. Now, the whole situation that I have in my own head is Antonio Conte is a lot like Jose Mourinho in this regard. Born winner, has won everywhere that he's gone. The only place he hasn't won is Tottenham. But Tottenham fans will tell you he's the problem. Mourinho was the problem. Mourinho got to a cup final, got sacked before the cup final. He didn't even get a chance to try and win something. Okay? Conte's been here a year, and people saying he's a failure, he's not good enough, he's rubbish, right? Which is kind of interesting, because I'm going to go to one of the fan favourites and tell you as to why he's not the right appointment, and you know who I'm talking about. And you don't want to admit it, you don't want to agree to it, but I'm going to go in on it, and I'm going to dispel it as being a good appointment, okay? Antonio Conte is a born winner. He's won at clubs that maybe don't have a very large budget. He's also won at clubs that did have a large budget, and he's won everywhere that he's been. Other than the Italian job, but that's a different story. You only get to win every 2 years. Friendlies don't matter. The Nations League is an irrelevant competition, if I'm honest. It's glorified friendlies. It's like winning the Audi Cup, like we last won, which is obviously a bit of a joke, all right? I'm having a bit of fun with it. My problem that I have is Mourinho went through this and Conte went through this. The players don't like them. Training's rubbish. They're not good enough. The football's ugly. The football's this, that, the other. Well, under Mourinho, we were actually the second top goal scorers in all of Europe. So telling me that the football was rubbish is a joke. Under Conte, we're actually one of the top goal scorers in the Premier League. So telling me the football's rubbish is a joke. Now, it may not always be pretty, but when players decide to turn up, aka Son, we seem to play quite well. But when Son decides that he doesn't really fancy playing very well, and it's been, hey, we're sitting in March now. I was 26 the last time he played a good game. I'm now 27. Okay, that's changed. He hasn't been good enough this season. He's not been good. Now, the one thing I would say about Conte is he's reluctant to play the players that they've been brought in. Now, I think partially down to not all of these players are players that he's actually truly wanted. Think of Spence, for example. That was clearly a Paratici. That's clearly a Levy signing. He likes who he likes and he plays who he likes. Now, I think this plays a part because this happened on Mourinho and this happened on Nuno. We don't like him. We don't like him. He's not good enough. I can guarantee you it's the exact same sort, not the same players as such, but it's the exact same situation where the squad players don't really play. They're the problems. Back in the day, it was players like Winks, it was players like Ali, the players that weren't relevant anymore. They were the ones that saying, "Oh, we don't like him. No, we don't like him." It's like, no, the big name players do like him because you're irrelevant and you're not playing. You have the issue, not the big name players. Kulusevski talks about how much he loves Conte. Romero talks about how much he loves Conte. Højbjerg loves Conte. Kane and Son absolutely love him. Perisic is obviously a Conte guy. You know, Dyer's been playing loads of minutes on Conte. You'd expect him to love him. Lloris has been defended by Conte a lot through his poor form. You're going to expect him to like him a little bit as well. The players that won't like him are the players that are not playing. The players that aren't good enough. The players aren't getting minutes. You can tell they're going to be the players that are going to be the issue. And it's a common theme across the other managers. When players haven't been playing, they'll always speak up and throw an issue. And they'll throw the toys out of pram and say, no, he's a rubbish manager, he's not good enough. The other thing I don't like is how Spurs fans have just turned on Conte all of a sudden. It's his fault. It's all his fault. Only his fault. 100% your fault. Get out of my club. You're not good enough. You're not this. You're not that. The other. Common denominator. Haven't won a cup in 15 years. We've had Jose Mourinho, who's one of the most successful managers to ever manage in the game. Antonio Conte is one of the most successful managers in today's day and age. Who had AVB, who won a treble in Portugal. You've had Nuno, who's been successful bringing up Wolves, making them a top half of the table team. We're talking about players, we're talking about managers like Harry Redknapp, who's won things. You're talking about Harry Redknapp, who made us a top 4 team. You know, you're talking about Pochettino, who made us a top 4 team, or continued that top 4 run. Let's not say he made us that top 4 team, because he wasn't. He continued on that run. Didn't win anything, but we continued in that vein of form. What's the common denominator for all of that? Poor ownership is the common denominator. It's not Paratici, it's not Steve Hitchen, it's not anyone buying the players. It is Enick and it is Levy. The sooner these guys leave, the better. The better the club becomes. We actually become a viable team. I saw an interesting interview from Pochettino years ago when he was still the Spurs manager, and he said, we can't buy players like a Man City or a Liverpool. You know, they lose a top player, they go and sign 2 other top players, right? We go and buy a player who's 75% of that player, and we try and turn them into the 100% of that player. Whilst in that time, we've lost that time where they've kicked on, those players who've been unbelievable at their clubs, they've kicked on, continue to be incredible. They then brought more players in of that level, whereas we've kept trying to chip away with these 75%ers. You're never going to win anything with poor investment and poor recruitment. So Levy's the issue, Enick's the issue, saying Conte's the issue, saying Mourinho, AVB, saying Poch, all these people, then they've not been the issue. Poch didn't get investment for Summers. Okay, so you've got to give him respect for doing what he's doing. Now, speaking of potential replacements, because let's be honest, it does probably look like Conte will be leaving shortly. Let's look at the potential replacements. So number 1, you've got Mauricio Pochettino, former manager who spent 5.5 years at Spurs, where we won nothing, finished second what? Once? Finished third in a 2-horse race, and we didn't really achieve any success in the Cups. Had a Champions League final run, which masked a lot of the problems where we hadn't won an away game in over a year. But that's what we did under Mauricio Pochettino. The idea that Maurizio Pochettino's football was amazing, by the end it wasn't. It was terrible. We were no longer a defensively sound team like we were at the start. We no longer played that exciting football. Players actually started to just kind of didn't want to play for him anymore, aka Christian Eriksen, who was desperate to come back to Spurs in the summer to play for Conte. Interesting one there. So yes, no, he's not the right appointment. He is a backward step. He is not better than Antonio Conte. That's facts. That's proven. It is literally all there for you all to see. The idea that you want Pochettino back is because you just liked a little bit of nice football. You wanted to enjoy football. We weren't very good against top six. His record against the top six is appalling. He's kept 3 clean sheets in 19 against Man City. I think he's beaten Pep Guardiola 3 times, and that includes a win when he was at PSG, so he's won twice. What's for Spurs, really? Any good? He was never good against Chelsea. Manchester United, never really that good against them. Arsenal, he had his moments against Arsenal, to be fair. That might be one, but then Arsenal weren't very good for a little while. And Liverpool, yeah, he was never good against Liverpool. So yeah, no, he was amazing against the top 6. He's exactly what we want. Exactly what we want. Get your head out of the gutter. He's not what we want. He's not good enough anymore. We need to get past this romantic feeling that we have from Maurizio. We had a good time with Maurizio, but it was good. 5.5 years, you expect to win something. We didn't. With a team like that, with Lloris in goal, Rose and Walker as your fullbacks, who are the best set of fullbacks in the league, you had Alderweireld and Vertonghen, who are the best centre-back partnership in the league as well, in my opinion. So you got a whole back four, who I think is the best defence in the league. You had Maroussa Dembele sitting next to Victor Wanyama. You then had players like Dele, Christian Eriksen, Son and Kane. You're telling me that you couldn't win one cup. It doesn't have to be a Premier League. It could be a League Cup, an FA Cup. But you couldn't win one thing. I can't sit there and say he's a great manager. He's a good manager. But we should be aiming for great. And we should also be aiming to remove the ownership that we have. Get new owners in. Let them pick who they want. They don't want Conte, fine. It's their prerogative. They are the owners. He's not the right decision. He's not who I would want either. A couple of guys from the Premier League that I'm interested in talking about. Thomas Frank and Steve Cooper. So Thomas Frank being the Brentford manager, Steve Cooper being the Forest manager. You'll sit there and go, Brentford and Forest, really? No, we're miles better than that. Well, let's be clear here. Maurizio Pochettino came from Southampton, who were a mid-table team in the Premier League at the time. Can anyone tell me where Brentford are in the league? Yeah, exactly. Thomas Frank plays progressive football, plays good football, actually plays a similar style to what you probably find with Maurizio Pochettino early in his time at Southampton in Spurs. I like Thomas Frank. I think he's a good manager. You know, I believe there's a better option for us. I will talk about that option in a second. But I think he's a good manager. And if we couldn't get the option that we wanted, I would have no issues with Spurs going for Thomas Frank. No issues. You know, I think he's worked with a shoestring budget. We'd obviously have a budget that's a bit more. He'd be working with players that would really suit the system. And actually, if we're talking about it, we're talking about summer, David Raya as the keeper, Ivan Toney being the striker. I would love to go get all three. If that was the case, go get all three. Go get the manager, go get the striker, and go get the keeper. You got yourself a keeper that you want potentially for the future. See how he obviously plays, but on the face things for the future. But you've also got the striker, who's what we want. You know, Kane, we can rest because you've got Ivan Toney, who's been absolutely sensational this year. He's clearly been winning his bets because he's in a good mood as well. Steve Cooper from the Forest started off the season quite poorly, right? Everyone was like, oh my God, no, they're going down. They bought too many players. They're going down. First and foremost, they had to replace God knows how many players in that squad. They replaced all that with really quick recruitment. Some of those players that are recruited are actually quite solid. He's now got them playing as well. And actually, they're starting to climb the table. They play lovely football. English manager. That's what a lot of people want. They wanted Potter because of that. And look how it's worked with Potter, obviously. But we want an English manager. Steve Cooper would be that guy. Do I personally want Steve Cooper? I think that would be a job just one step too far. I think Steve Cooper, what you probably find, would probably go to like a mid-table team, right? That next step. I can probably see West Ham knocking on his door because West Ham have got a decent squad. When they lose Rice, I can't see it being a better squad than Brentford though. But I can see them going for him. You know, I can see if Wolves were to falter a little bit, Wolves could be an option. They've got money to spend. You know, looking around, Brighton, if they lost to Zerbi, would he be the option there? I think so. I think he's a good manager. You know, I mean, Brighton's budget's worse than Forest's. I would say that. That would be interesting. And you know Chelsea would come and buy a player every 30 seconds. That would be the other issue. But that would be the step. Just beneath top 6. Then you kick into the top 6, right? Now, there are other managers, but I'm only going to talk about one more. It's the one that I want. He is world class. He is a born winner and he plays unbelievable football. And if he is not your number one choice to be that manager, I'm going to be honest, I don't know what's going on in your mind. He plays better football than Poch. He's won more than Poch. He plays better football than Thomas Frank and Steve Cooper. He's won more and he's won some of the biggest trophies in the world. Luis Enrique. Now, you will remember Luis Enrique. He was the guy who took over basically from Pep, okay? There was a little step in between, but Pep, he was the guy, right? Pep obviously created this Messi-like player, this unbelievable player. Luis Enrique just ramped into another level. He took him to another level. Luis Enrique obviously had MSN, obviously Messi, Suarez, Neymar. Created some of the best football you'll ever watch, in my opinion. Progressive, attacking, tiki-taka football. Very, very good manager. Yes, he didn't have the best of times with Spain at the last championships, but your international football is a different beast. Look at Italy. They won one and they couldn't even qualify for the next one. It's a different beast. But at club level, this man has had so much success. He's won Champions League. He's won La Ligas, Copa del Rey, Club World Championships. You name it. For Barcelona, he's won everything he could possibly win. He, for me, is the most logical name to go for. If you want to be a big club, you go get a big manager. We had Antonio Conte and Mourinho, the two best managers, in theory, when you look at their success, that we've ever had, right? Luis Enrique is in that bracket. Now, Luis Enrique plays a much more attacking brand of football. He brings this structure and energy that a club should want, but he also has real ambitions of making a team his own. That's what I like. I think there's so many players in that squad. Deadwood, move them, get them gone. We've been trying to do it for ages. I really, really wish this summer coming, no matter who the manager is, we just move them. Players that aren't good enough. When you think about it, you think of players like Japhet Tanganga, Davinson Sanchez, just not good enough. Move them. You know, you look at, Emerson's obviously had a bit of a renaissance. Pedro Porro looks like he's actually quite a good player. I thought he actually played well against Wolves. You know, showed attacking promise, good on the ball. You know, does Pape Matar or Skip go out on loan and get some more loan time? You know, Brian Hill, what's happening there? Lucas Moura's going to be gone. He's moving Deadwood out of the squad. You know, what happens at left wing back next year when you have Destiny Udogie, Sessegnon and Perisic? Do one of them go? Do you move Perisic more as a rotational player around the team? You know, is Lloris going to be gone? Is Forster going to be there next season? I think Forster's been good, by the way. Please don't think I think he should leave because he's not been good enough. I think he actually has been good. A lot of the goals we've conceded, I can't sit there and say it's his fault, which is kind of ironic. I would like Luis Enrique personally. That's my preference. It'd be interesting to see what happens in the coming months. I would have no issues with Conte saying, I'm Conte in still, and I'll be Conte in until the wheels fall off. Ever since watching him at Juventus the first time around, he's been the guy that I've wanted. Juventus fans fell out of love with him because he went to Inter. As soon as he left Inter, they were talking about getting him back. That's how much he's loved in Italy. He's loved at Chelsea for being a winner. Why are we the only club that don't want him? It's because we're spoiled, we have no idea what we want, and we're entitled for a club that doesn't win anything. Break it down like that. Anyway, guys, that's a long video today. So obviously, I know it's a little bit longer than normal, but wanted to rant a little bit. Wanted to talk about what the landscape is going forward. Guys, drop a like, hit the comments. Let me know who you want. Let me know if what you didn't agree in my opinion. I'm happy to have anything out on there. You know, I'm always happy to have a discussion. If you're new, obviously subscribe and hit the bell notification. There'll be more coming in the weeks ahead. I'll probably do a preview ahead of the Milan game as well. Anyway, guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you're all well. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care, lads.